Remember when a small business needed a landline? Today, the world is your office with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. On the road, at the beach, or at home, Grasshopper helps you grow your business with all the features of a business phone system and the freedom of a cell phone. Features include multiple extensions for your team, calls forwarded to your mobile phones, voicemails transcribed and emailed, and so much more. See how it works at grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system.
Good communication is key to business, especially when you need to work together with people that aren't in the same office. So what do millions of small business professionals do when it's time to connect with remote clients and colleagues? They use Citrix GoToMeeting, the proven solution for meeting and collaborating online. Now it's your turn to see why. Visit GoToMeeting.com and click the Try It Free for 30 days button. That's GoToMeeting.com for your free 30-day trial. GoToMeeting. Meeting is believable.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Find them on Facebook and visit them on South Military Highway in Chesapeake and Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth, Monday through Saturday. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573 today. For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made-in-the-USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
Chesapeake, Virginia, 1650 AM WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and at GJBTV.com. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
And Ken, before we start the show, I was thinking about you and thinking about that last segment we did, of course, What Teased Me Off, so popular. And Ken goes on the last show, you can see that, of course, the last show and hear it on gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link on the homepage. Ken was saying, boy, a lot of things tee you off. And I said, Ken, that's the whole point of the segment. What tees you off? It's not always roses. Anyway, folks, this is Sports Scene. Happy February, Wednesday. Mild weather in Hampton Roads. Also, don't forget 1650 on the radio. Lock it in. Also, tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen to on your phone or your computer. Again, gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. This is Sports Scene, an interview show every Wednesday from noon to 1. Don't forget sports highlights on nnpstv.com, where our featured guest today, Kevin Martingayle, is also shown on nnpstv.com. He's an attorney. We'll be talking about the VHSL issues this hour. This is your home for CBS News. Tell your friends about 1650 on Facebook, Twitter, at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV, at HROnlineMall.com. Thank you to all my Twitter followers and all the great people that listen and follow the show. Also on tunein.com. You can be a follower there, as well as the YouTube channel of gjbtv.com. Great guest lineup, sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, as well as Hampton Roads Online Mall.com. Bridging both sides of the water, folks. Browse, shop, visit on Hampton Roads Online Mall.com. Phone line presented by Fink's Car Care with 2 locations, gjbtv.com and HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com, serving Hampton Roads. Of course, thank you to our great sponsors as well, Bay Propeller, Fink's, and also A Friendly Moving and Storage, LoveMyMover.com. We'll come back with our featured guest. We'll talk a little bit about the Super Bowl and a little bit more about the VHSL after these messages. 1650 on the radio, tunein.com, type in WHKT, a little Valentine's treat toward the end of the show. Stay tuned.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made in the USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio.
Baby, I'm playing on you tonight. Hunt you down, eat you alive. Just like animals, animals like animals. Maybe you think that you can hide. I can smell your scent for miles. Just like animals, animals like animals. Baby, I'm so what you trying to do to me?
All right. Thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us live on the radio, 1650 AM. Lock it in. Your home for CBS News. Greg Bicouvaris. This is Sports Scene on the radio right here. Glad you're with us this afternoon during the lunch hour. A little break from the normal chaos during the week, but it is, of course, Wednesday, a couple of days till the weekend. Well, we had him on Sports Highlights, the featured guest this month on Sports Highlights on Cox Cable 47, 517 in Newport News. Kevin Martingayle, an attorney from Virginia Beach, former lifeguard of Virginia Beach. Kevin, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Greg. Thanks for inviting me.
Very good. Tell us about your background, first of all.
Well, I grew up in Richmond, went to college at Hampton-Sydney where I was a runner. I was on the cross-country team there. I went to law school at UVA, class of 91, and Laura Ingram, who was speaking earlier on her show, was in my class there. And in between college and law school, I was a lifeguard on the beach. I live in Virginia Beach. The lifeguard experience drew me to stick around, so that's what I've been doing. I've got 3 kids. I have a son who is in middle school at Virginia Beach Middle, and I have 2 kids at Princess Anne High School, a junior and a sophomore.
Well, let's get right to it. The VHSL, and of course, this segment brought to you by Mi Casita with 2 locations in Virginia Beach. Go to MiCasitaMexican.com for delicious Mexican food. Of course, growing up in the peninsula on the south side, being on 36 in Atlantic every Sunday as a kid, love Virginia Beach. I want to get your thoughts, first of all, about, the tourists will be here in a few more months. How has it evolved, in your opinion, when you were growing up as a kid, how the lifeguards are doing today? It always seems like there's 1 or 2 drownings a year. We can't, that's almost like stopping the inevitable. It does happen. You can't be everywhere.
I think the lifeguards do a great job, and my oldest child, Harrison, is now a lifeguard on the beach. Tom Gill is the guy who runs it on a day-to-day basis, and Tom actually started during my last year lifeguarding on the beach, and I think he does a terrific job. It's really a statistics game. If you have enough people, playing around in the ocean over a lengthy period of time, on occasion there's going to be an unfortunate tragedy. That's mixing people with water. So.
Yeah.
I think statistically they do an incredible job, and they save a lot of people every year. My son saved a number of individuals last year, including one man who was well over 300 pounds, and my son at the time weighed about 135, and yet he still managed to pull him out of the ocean. So I think they do a great job.
On a brighter note, you went to school, the same school that Russell Wilson went to, that played for NC State in Wisconsin.
I did. Russell went to collegiate in Richmond from lower school all the way through graduating, and then he went to NC State, and he played football there 3 years, and his last year at Wisconsin. And everybody from Richmond, whether they went to collegiate or not, likes to claim Russell Wilson. We're all very proud of him. Despite the way the game ended in the Super Bowl on Sunday, I think he certainly represents himself very well, and he displays class at all times.
What baffled me more than anything about that game was Seattle looks like they panicked toward the end. They didn't have to rush. He could have run it in himself. Wilson could have, or Marshawn Lynch could have ran, who's got, in my opinion, no personality about himself at all. Never could be an attorney, that's for sure. Can you imagine that guy representing any business? But anyway, it seems like Seattle just panicked toward the end.
Well, I saw what Pete Carroll said in terms of an explanation, and he said that the defense brought in a bunch of big players that it was going to make it very difficult to run it up the middle, and so he thought he would try a safe pass, maybe it would be a throwaway play, and then they would regroup and decide what to do next because the clock would be stopped, and at the time the clock was running. What I thought was kind of crazy was the throwaway play. I would have done a rollout run-pass option with Russell Wilson and told him either throw in an incompletion or throw a safe pass or run it in. And given that the New England Patriots were clogging up the middle, I think it would have been pretty easy for Russell Wilson to scamper around the end and score. But you know what? Pete Carroll's the coach, and he's in the position to make the calls, and he accepted full responsibility, and I got to respect him for that.
Well, if they would have gotten it and converted it, they would have been called geniuses and won 2 in a row. Anyway,
You're right about that.
Yeah, so it goes either way, but a good attorney could have represented and made it look good anyway. So, all right, Bishop Martingayle, he is Mr. Kevin Martingayle from Virginia Beach. We're going to talk about the VHSL. This is Sports Scene. Lock it in on the radio, 1650, the only local show on the radio right now during this hour. TuneIn.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. All right, VHSL stands for Virginia High School League. The biggest areas in Virginia are Northern Virginia, Richmond, and the Hampton Roads area. Last night I was doing a high school basketball doubleheader, girls and boys game that's going to be shown on NNPS TV between Warwick and Menchville. They're only a few miles apart. That's the problem. Schools now are in 6 divisions, and they're all over the place, Kevin.
Yeah, I see a lot of problems with the current structure, and a couple of years ago there was a decision made to go from the old single A, double A, triple A system to a 6-division system, and to me it has had all kinds of problematic consequences. I love high school sports. I think there is nothing more fun than having these kids have an opportunity to compete against people, particularly people who live near them, the kids they see in the off season and the summertime and all that sort of thing. And these changes have had all kinds of unintended and perhaps unanticipated consequences, but frankly I think it's been a terrible disaster. It has driven up costs. It takes kids out of class time more than the old system used to. You've had damage to historic rivalries. You've seen old districts that were split into 2. For example, the Beach District, Lansdowne and Ocean Lakes, for example, are classified as 6A, whereas Princess Anne and Green Run and Bayside get classified as 5A, so you no longer have the old Beach District competing against each other, and same thing is going on in Norfolk and Chesapeake and the Peninsula, etc. So I don't know all of the reasons for what the VHSL did, but I think that the price that everybody is paying for the experiment is too high.
Absolutely. Greg Bicouvaris, this is Sports Scene, along with producer Ken Johnson right here on the radio. Also, TuneIn.com, talking to Kevin Martingayle from Bishop Martingayle, an attorney, talking about VHSL. Just the travel time, the time away from parents, family, the middle of the winter, it's cold, it gets dark early, they have the spring sports, even then they practice out in the cold, and then they have to travel from the peninsula and the south side all the time. We don't mind doing it ourselves. We're business people. We have flexible schedules. These kids do not have flexible schedules.
Well, I'll give you a particular example. So last winter, my son was on the Princess Anne wrestling team, and he was a sophomore. When he was a freshman, he was part of the AAA system, and so the regional wrestling tournament was in Chesapeake. And we got home at a decent hour, and he went to bed and got up the next day and went to school. So this past year, the tournament was in Southside Richmond, and they called it a regional, although I don't know really how our region ends up putting us in Southside Richmond. And the tournament was a Saturday-Sunday affair. Well, the Sunday competition, the way that they scheduled it, didn't end until a little bit after midnight. Then we got in a car and drove home. So he got to bed at a very late time and had to go to school on very little sleep. We were told that the kids would be excused in the first class, but he was part of a group project, and he's in the IB program at Princess Anne. So long story short, he went to school on very little sleep. and it was very difficult for them. And under the old system, that wouldn't have occurred. So we've already got a situation where high school kids have a lot of burdens put on them. If they're going to be athletes or if they're going to participate in academic competitions, they have a lot to juggle already. This is just one more thing that I think is going to push some kids over the edge. It's going to hurt their academics. It's going to hurt their athletic performance. And some kids are just going to have to give up something. And what can they give up? They got to give up the extra activity.
Yeah, a few weeks ago we taped Nansemond River from Suffolk against Heritage in Newport News. All right, no big deal, but it used to be girls varsity, then boys varsity. This time it was a JV game, then the boys varsity. This time when we got to tape Monday, Kings Fork in Heritage, which is a girls varsity game. It used to be girls, boys. Now it's JV. Girls play here, boys play here. It dwindles the fan support. Last night was 2 Newport News schools. It was a packed house. Yes, because they're in the same city. I mean, kids' number one priority should be academics first. It seems like to me the VHSL is non-transparent, and all they care about is the small cities and insignificant places, where they should care about the big cities and the revenue generating cities.
Well, there's an old expression that you certainly don't want to kill the good in pursuit of the perfect. And I think that's what happened here. I think that the VHSL had a somewhat laudable goal, and that was to try to make sure that schools that match up against each other are of equal size, so that you don't have student body mismatches. Now, there might be an argument for that being really important in the sport of football, but I don't think that it's very important for any other sport. Football has to have a huge roster in order to put the players on the field. So maybe your student body size matters a lot. But historically, other sports, it hasn't really mattered much at all. In fact, one of the most dominant wrestling programs ever was the Great Bridge program, and they're classified as 5A. Mm-hmm. So obviously they managed to do it having a smaller student body than, for example, lots of the Northern Virginia schools.
Sure.
So the net result is that an effort to try to have the perfect equality of size of school in all of the matchups, they've created all these other burdens, the missed class time, the travel cost problem, the difficulty parents have going all over creation trying to find their kids' competition. It's my understanding that there has been decreased attendance at a lot of the events that used to draw more fans. I can give you one example I saw with my own eyes, and that's the wrestling. When my son was a freshman, it was a packed house over in Chesapeake for the regional tournament. When we went up to Southside Richmond, the crowd was probably a third of what it had been for the regional in Chesapeake the year before. And that's because people don't want to drive all over the place, and in some cases they simply can't afford to. Mm-hmm. So it's creating a lot of burdens and a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of district tournaments are being eliminated. You know, you talk about travel time, the talent, the treasure of these kids that work 12 months out of the year. Again, he brought up a good point, Kevin did. Football is once a week. Anybody can plan anything once a week. I do this radio show live once a week. It's easy to plan, but I'm an adult. I work full-time. I work part-time. I can plan around this radio show. These kids cannot plan, and again, what's relevant in one area might not be relevant in the other area. Also, a lot of times when we were growing up, you saw kids playing 2 sports. Who's got time to do anything like that anymore?
Right. Well, and my kids, what they do is they do an activity every season. So I've got kids who are competing 3 seasons a year, and that's very difficult. Sometimes you'll see kids who even manage to compete in 2 different activities at the same time. I remember a guy who went to Cox High School who did exactly that, and ended up being all-state in 4 different sports. Then he went to college on a wakeboarding scholarship, something totally different. But in any event, let me tell you one of the other big concerns that I have that I think is going to be some of the fallout from this increase in the budgets. We all know that money doesn't grow on trees, and nobody is anxious to see taxes go up. In fact, all of the politicians, federal, state, local, are trying real hard to make sure that they don't do anything that could be called a tax increase. Well, this is what the fallout is from the VHSL's latest maneuver. We now have the functional equivalent of a tax increase. We have the travel expenses that have gone up for all of the school boards, and they're going to have to find the money to cover those increased costs. And we've got the travel increased costs for the families who want to go see the kids participate. Something's got to give. There aren't any new sources of revenue. In fact, we think that the gate numbers are going down for a lot of these tournaments. So what happens? Something's going to get cut. So what's going to get cut? JV sports, middle school sports, and the less popular sports and activities are at risk. And I can tell you, you can go to vhsl.org and look at the minutes of some of the meetings that have occurred in the last couple years after the realignment, and you'll see that some of the conferences are talking about dropping things. I saw one of the conferences in Northern Virginia talking about deleting indoor track. Now, if you're a track athlete, you really do need the indoor season combined with the outdoor season in order to get as fast as possible to attract attention of the college recruiters, if that's something you want to pursue. These things that are happening right now are not increasing opportunity for the student athletes and the academic competitors. In the end, I think the opportunities will be decreased. So that is a classic example of sacrificing the good, pursuing the perfect, and ending up with something that is far worse than what you used to have.
It's lunchtime. Don't forget, Buffalo Wild Wings reminds you to come by there and enjoy some basketball at 4201 Kilgore Avenue in Hampton. Go by and see Bruce and the great staff. Get a honey barbecue, watch football, basketball, whatever you want to watch all the time at Buffalo Wild Wings. Great place for some wings and burgers. And, of course, you talk about Northern Virginia alone. I went to school at George Mason, grew up in Newport News. In Northern Virginia, you can go in circles going in traffic. I mean, rush hour there starts so early. I don't know how anybody gets anything done. Has anybody tried to drive from Springfield to Washington or College Park, Maryland during rush hour? I mean, really, if you're an attorney there, you almost have to leave a few hours early just to get to court.
Well, there's a reason why I'm not an attorney in Northern Virginia.
And I'm staying far away from Northern Virginia. I only go up there to work Redskins and Ravens games and to see my sister and her younger daughter, and that's it.
Well, let me tell you another angle on this VHSL puzzle. I was curious about how the VHSL got started, and I looked up some stuff online to get some of the history, and apparently it started a little over 100 years ago. It was an outgrowth of an organization from Charlottesville, and they're still based in Charlottesville. And interestingly, it's a private organization. And what happened is over time they were given increased amounts of responsibility to regulate interscholastic activities and competition. It started with debate, which they still regulate when they're debate competitions. And over time they got more and more authority and more discretion. And now you've got this fairly large organization sitting there in Charlottesville that is in charge of virtually every aspect of scholastic and athletic competitions. And it's not a transparent organization. It's not subject to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, which makes it different from the General Assembly or any local school board. And, they can make changes that, once again, constitute the functional equivalent of tax increases. When money that you've got to spend to participate goes up, that's like a tax. I don't know how to look at it any differently. So I find it kind of strange that this private organization has been allowed to assume nearly total control over public school activities. The Constitution of Virginia and the Code of Virginia make it very clear that the General Assembly, the Virginia Department of Education, and the school boards have shared responsibility for all things having to do with public school education and opportunities. And I'm not even sure that it is completely lawful for any of this responsibility to be delegated to a private organization that's not elected and not transparent and not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. I think that's a legal challenge that could happen at some point in the future if the General Assembly doesn't step in and reform the way in which things are being handled.
And what's the biggest issue in the state? One of the biggest issues is transportation. Our roads are not that great. And look at the Hampton roads. If somebody waited for a bus in this area, they would be waiting all day long. They don't move fast. I'm talking about the regular public transportation buses. These yellow school buses move anemically slow, and they're trying to get kids to and from an activity or a sporting event. They haven't thought about that, have they? Have they thought about gas prices? Have they thought about time, talent, and treasure of these kids? Have they thought about fatigue by the time they get to the facility and they start their mornings off very early?
Yeah, I think that the transportation thing is something that wasn't very well thought out, particularly regarding the eastern half of the state. It's no secret that Northern Virginia, the greater Richmond area, all of the peninsula, and Southside Hampton roads has a lot of transportation difficulty. And there are times a day when it's really difficult to get around. Layer on top of that the fact that the kids have to go further distances now than they used to. Pile on top of that the fact that a lot of the school vehicles don't do more than 55 or 60 miles an hour because they're They have some kind of device on them that keeps them from going any faster. Pile on top of that the fact that the coaches are paid very little money to coach. And you're stuck with a situation where, once again, something's got to give. I anticipate that some coaches will hang it up and say, you know what, I used to be willing to do this, but I'm not anymore because I didn't get a corresponding pay increase to go along with all the extra time I'm putting in. And you've got families who are looking at these kids who are performing maybe okay academically, or maybe the kid is struggling to make it. And they say, you know what, you can't be on the team anymore. You can't be on the activity. So there are lots of stresses here, and something's going to break.
All right, we have a lot of treats coming up, some Valentine's specials, some shout-outs coming up as well. Kevin's going to stick around pretty much for the whole hour and around our segments as well. We got CBS News, of course. We are getting close to Valentine's Day. Of course, we'll see what Kevin's thoughts are about Valentine's Day, too. Even kind of lighten it up a little bit, have a little fun here. And don't forget, this is your home for CBS News, Ken Johnson, which is coming up around the corner.
Yes, it is. In about 30 seconds, we'll get an update from CBS News and find out what's going around the world, up the street and down your neighborhood. Sorry, a little 70s coming back there. Sunshine for the rest of the afternoon, 54. Increasing cloudiness, some scattered showers developing overnight, a low of 41. Button up that overcoat. Decreasing cloudiness, windy, not much warmer, a high of 41. Sunshine, though, for the weekend, Friday and Saturday, 42, 54. Partly cloudy, warmer on Sunday with a high of 58 degrees. Enjoy it while you can. Rain coming back on Monday. Showers on Tuesday. We can't go for a whole week without some kind of rain. CBS is next on The Answer. It's 12:31.
CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan.
We intend to find out not only what happened, but we want to find out why it happened.
Robert Sumwalt, vice chairman of the NTSB, is now running the investigation into last night's deadly train crash north of New York City. 6 people died, 5 on the train. 1 woman was in an SUV that was on the tracks. CBS's Heather Bosch is in Valhalla, New York.
Witnesses describe a giant fireball after the commuter train struck an SUV on the tracks here. There's evidence of that today. Black, charred areas surrounding the windows and doors, the crushed SUV underneath.
Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino says the fire in that first car was intense.
With the exception of one of the bodies, all of them were beyond recognition, so they're going to need forms of dental records, etc., to try to identify the bodies.
15 people are in hospitals today with injuries, some of them serious. CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan.
Hi, this is Greg Bicouvaris. Join me for Sports Scene each Wednesday from noon to 1 right here on News Talk 1650 WHKT. You can also hear the show on TuneIn as well. We will talk to local, regional, and nationally acclaimed sports guests, and we'll interact with our audience as well at Greg Bick on Twitter. Sports Scene, Wednesdays from noon to 1, right here on 1650 AM.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Find them on Facebook and visit them on South Military Highway in Chesapeake and Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth, Monday through Saturday. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573 today.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made-in-the-USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads Online Mall.com Marketplace pages.
All right, thank you very much, Ken Johnson. And, of course, so we got the highlights coming up, but we got our special guest here, Kevin Martingayle, will be joined by another UFC guest in just a few moments. Mr. Jim on the line here. But, Kevin, of course, Valentine's coming up. It is today, the 4th, 10 days away. How do you feel about Valentine's Day with your wife?
Well, of course, I hope she's listening. And to my lovely, talented, and very patient wife, Lizzie, happy Valentine's Day in advance, and I hope you continue to be patient, because I know that according to my friends, she needs to be, being married to me.
All right, happy Valentine's Day to 4 people. My younger sister Valerie, her daughter Maria, also McKenna, Bourbon, Brandy, you know who you are out there listening right now, and all the great girls and guys, we wish you a happy Valentine's Day. Be safe, have fun, and of course, chocolate makes it even better. All right, gjbtv.com, archive shows, click the YouTube link, shop on the Marketplace sponsors, save the date each Wednesday for Sports Scene right here from 12 to 1. We got our business spotlight scenes coming up a little bit later. What teased me off? Sports highlights, Kevin Martingayle is on it right now on nnpstv.com on the homepage. Tell your friends. Great guest as always. Patriots win. What else is new? They seem like they win all the time. They win so many Super Bowls. And of course, they've got a great dynasty. And talk about controversy here. The Atlanta Falcons owner is criticizing his own team for pumping in fake crowd noise in an inside dome.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about all that. It seems like some aspects of the NFL are way too focused on showmanship, and then you got these coaches, and some people seem to look for an advantage in strange ways, and I don't know, that's very disappointing. But and you mentioned Marshawn Lynch earlier. I do want to say something about him. He is a heck of a football player, and I wish the NFL would leave the guy alone when it comes to talking to the media and stop requiring any of these guys to talk. Yeah. Some guys are talkers, right? Some are not. Let them play. Those who want to talk, let them talk. Those who don't want to talk, let them shut up and let them play the game. Well, what are we doing here? I think the fans care mostly about the competition, and they're interested in hearing from the guys who want to talk. And those who don't, okay, you're probably hurting your marketability, which is where most of them make the big pile of money anyway. But if a guy like Marshawn Lynch doesn't want to talk and he wants to play, let him do it and leave him alone.
All right, Brandy, listen to this. Blue Cafe Bar and Sushi, 13175 Jefferson Avenue in Newport News. Great soups. They got great sushi as well, of course, lunch appetizers, kitchen appetizers, salads, where is right there at Blue Cafe Bar and Sushi, 13175 Jefferson Avenue. Go by and see the great staff, 898-6888. Good place to go on Valentine's. Of course, let's welcome our next guest for a few moments right here, Jim Partyka from Talking UFC. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Very good. Tell us about your background. First of all, thank you for all that you do in our country serving the military.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm active duty military. I've got 20 years of military service right here in Virginia Beach, and launched a company called Partyka Fight League a couple of years ago, which is a mixed martial arts company, cage fighting promotion company. And we've grown, and since then, we've become the top promoter in the state, and we're now working with Glory Sports International on Friday for a mixed kickboxing and MMA event that will have Mike Tyson ringside in attendance.
Absolutely. First of all, let me get your thoughts real quick. I want to ask you a military question before we talk about this, and Kevin can chime in as well too. What are your thoughts about what the military is going through in the Middle East? I mean, what they're going through with this ISIS stuff is unbelievable. Those psychotic thugs that are killing people over there. What, as a military guy with all your experience, what should be done with them? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's very unfortunate that we've allowed this situation to just kind of get out of hand the way it has. These guys obviously aren't slowing down, and they're just growing at a rapid rate. I don't know. I mean, I personally feel like we ought to do a little bit more. There's plenty of people that put this uniform on that would love to go over there and do their part to try to eliminate that threat.
All right, let's talk about your big event coming up at the Hampton Coliseum. Let's talk about it.
Okay, well, it's going to be Friday. Doors open at 4 o'clock. We're going to have fights kick off as early as 4:15. We're going to be live on Spike TV from 9 to 11 p.m. We've got Mike Tyson that's going to be in attendance, and right now we're running a special where if you buy a ticket online, Ticketmaster.com, or if you go to SpartakaFightLeague.com, there's a hyperlink. If you buy a ticket to the show online, you get put into a raffle for a chance to meet and greet with Mike Tyson in a photo op. So Thursday night when they close out the box office, we'll take a look at all the names of people that have pre-registered or pre-bought tickets. All those names will go into a raffle. We're going to draw one name out, and that person gets a chance to meet Mike Tyson.
When you talk about, let's talk about the UFC real quick, because I grew up as a boxing fan, loved Mike Tyson, watching him box, of course, and Larry Holmes. And Kevin here, his kid was a wrestler. What are your thoughts of the UFC compared to, let's say, wrestling, the WWE, and of course boxing and mixed martial arts? What are your thoughts about the health of the sport in the future?
I mean, it's such a early sport that I think it's going to be here in the next couple of years. We'll see how things go. I know football's getting a lot of flack right now with the amount of concussions and stuff like that. It's really hard to say. I mean, it's just such a in the early stages of the sport itself. I think the UFC has done a great job of taking how they've started and turned it into weight classes. I mean, when the UFC first started out, it was just no holds barred, no weight classes. So they've really streamlined it and turned it into a sport. Obviously, Fox picked them up, so you've got to be pretty official to have Fox Sports, take you on board. I think they're doing great things. A lot of these guys that are high school wrestlers that end up leaving college, there's nothing for wrestlers on the outside. So MMA is one of those transition points. And guys that play basketball or football, they can potentially go to the NFL or the NBA. For wrestlers, maybe the Olympics, but after that, they're getting a day job. So a lot of wrestlers are definitely transitioning over into MMA, and now there's a sport out there that they can get into after college.
Kevin, you got a question for Jim about the health of UFC?
Well, I got more of an observation than anything else. I agree with him that this sport is on an upward trajectory, and I think that one of the reasons it captured everybody's interest is the fact that it combines so many different activities. You've got elements of boxing in the form of striking, you've got the wrestling, you've got jiu-jitsu, all these different things. And he's right, there are very limited opportunities for wrestlers coming out. One guy who is currently fighting in the Bellator organization is Bubba Jenkins. Bubba Jenkins was a 157 NCAA champion at Arizona State. He used to babysit our kids. He went to Cox High School.
Wow.
And, he pursued that direction. Some of the other guys who were champions his year pursued the Olympic dream. But, he frankly didn't have the financial wherewithal to stick it out and hold on and try for the Olympics, and he decided to go pro doing this, and he's had a lot of success, and there are a lot of guys situated like him. So I think that the sport has got a bright future, and I think that it is less prone to head injuries because unlike boxing, you don't have that standing 8-count rule or anything like that, and guys who get dazed and are becoming dominated, it's over with right then and there. So even though it looks scarier sometimes and it looks like it's more dangerous, I think what we're seeing now is that there is data indicating there are fewer head injuries coming out of MMA.
Yeah, and then for us, I mean, we're on an amateur level, so we've got great referees. And at our level, because these guys are just, it's kind of like being in college. These guys aren't getting paid. They're trying to make it to the pros. And our promotion is a good stepping stone just because of the size that we've turned into and the organizations that we're working with. But for us, I mean, referee stoppages happen pretty quick. We're not trying to get anybody, permanently injured or damaged at the amateur level. So we take a lot of precautions. Coming up on our 18th event. In 18 events, we average close to 20 fights per event. This one a little bit different because we're working with Glory 19. So they've got all their fights. I mean, grand total will still be in the ballpark of that evening, having around 20 fights. But I think we've had one hospital ride, and there was no significant injuries out of that. So not a bad record. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself, but not a bad record for the amount of events that we've hosted in 4 years, and really no significant injuries.
Last thing too, you talk about the WWE. Sometimes they use chairs. UFC seems to use big highlight on those cage fences. I'm not a big fan of fences for anybody except for keeping dogs away. But anyway, what are your thoughts about that as well?
Well, I don't think that the cage is more intimidating than anything else. People will look at it and they think it's barbaric. But it'll be interesting this event because we'll be working with Glory Kickboxing, and they use a boxing ring.
Okay.
The cage, if it's used correctly, if you get thrown down, it's something that you can use to push your body up against and use the leverage from the cage to stand back up. People will not be able to do that on this event. So if you got a wrestler that's able to shoot in and take you down, there's nothing to use as leverage to help you get back up if that wrestler is going to dominate you on the ground. That's kind of the advantage of the cage. They don't allow you to hold the cage. The cage doesn't really do anything to hurt you. It's just more, I think it's just the appearance of the cage that has some people that aren't fans of the sport. They look at that and they're like, "Oh my God, this is barbaric." They're fighting inside the cage. But it's actually, if used correctly, it's a benefit of having that cage to get up off the ground if you've been taken down by a more, some of these wrestlers that have a good ground game. So it'll be interesting to see how things turn out with these guys doing it inside a boxing ring.
All right, last thing. Where's your event again? Give us the who, what, where, and why this Friday.
It's going to be Hampton Coliseum. Doors open at 4 o'clock. First fight will be at 4:15. We'll be live on Spike from 9 to 11 with Mike Tyson in the house. This will be the biggest martial arts event that has ever happened in Hampton Roads. So come on out, pre-buy your tickets if you want a chance to meet Mike Tyson. Day of ticket sales does not put you in the raffle. You have to pre-order your ticket to be put in the raffle to meet Mike Tyson.
Thank you so much, my friend. Is there a website you want to plug?
Yeah, SpartacusFightLeague.com. There's a hyperlink there also that'll take you to the ticket sales. Our next event will be April 11th. We'll be working with Susan G. Komen for our TKO for the top odds.
Very good. Have a great rest of the afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon, okay, Jimmy?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, talking about mixed martial arts, we're not going to go to a break. We'll just continue talking right here with Mr. Martingayle from Bischoff Martingayle. Of course, you heard that. And my opinion about that is, the cage is intimidating. It is intimidating.
It certainly looks intimidating, but I haven't had occasion to be inside one of those cages. No. So, my wife sometimes refers to me as being in the doghouse, but she hasn't literally put me in a cage or a doghouse yet.
Right.
I am willing to learn, however.
All right, this is Sports Scene right here every Wednesday, 12 to 1. Also want to thank Sonny Dirth and the TV Radio Log. Follow us on Twitter, at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV, HR1LineMall.com. Thank you to Blue Cafe Bar and Sushi at 13175 Jefferson Avenue. Go by there and get some great sushi, appetizers, and, of course, great lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Delicious food at Blue Cafe and Sushi. All right, continue with the VHSL. We were talking about that before we get to our Valentine's guest a little bit later. Kevin, what's the latest? What did the General Assembly say?
Well, there's an interesting set of developments that occurred in the General Assembly. So a Virginia Beach delegate by the name of Glenn Davis introduced a bill that was labeled House Bill 1415, and the co-patron on his bill was Delegate Scott Taylor, also Virginia Beach, former Navy SEAL, by the way. And so the point of the bill was to try to address a problem that everybody discovered when we were looking into how this reclassification thing came about, because the AAA schools were almost uniformly against the change, and the single A and the double A schools were in favor of it. Well, the AAA schools represent by far the majority of Virginia's population, both the overall population and the school student population. So we said, well, how in the world did the AAAs get outvoted? Well, apparently every school got one vote, no matter how big or small. So, for example, a small school out in the western end of the state would have one vote, and it would be the same voting power as Robinson High School from Northern Virginia, which is huge, or Lansdowne High School, or Ocean Lakes High School, or some other large school down here. So the delegates thought this was sort of out of whack, and that it didn't make sense to have a minority of the Virginia student population dictating to the majority how things ought to go. So they put in a bill that basically said that whatever the pay formula is for membership in the VHSL also needs to be the formula for purposes of voting on any issues. And the way that you pay to get into VHSL is each school has to pay a fee, and then there's another fee per activity, and then there is yet another fee per student activity participant based on the prior year's numbers. So that's all a way of explaining that they take into account the number of participants for purposes of charging money, but they weren't taking into account the number of participants for purposes of how they vote. So the bill was designed to fix that. It went to the Education Committee. It was then assigned to a subcommittee, which is a pretty normal course of events, and the General Assembly's website's got this tracking feature where you can see what's going on with the bill. So on January 26th, according to the website, it said it was still sitting there in the subcommittee waiting for a hearing to be scheduled, and I was going to go up to Richmond and speak in favor of the bill, and I know a lot of other people who wanted to do that. There were Virginia Beach School Board members. I know a Henrico school member who wanted to speak in favor. And the bill ended up, without any warning other than finding out that morning, going in front of the full Education Committee, and it was killed on a voice vote. So no one got a chance to do any scheduling. No one got a chance to go speak in favor of the bill. It died a quick death, and frankly, I think that it was sort of sneaky politics at work that led to the demise of this bill. I don't think that complies with the open meeting requirements that are set forth in the Code of Virginia, but we'll address those at some point down the road. But the point is that what people need to take away is that there is a proposal to look closely at what the VHSL is doing. They should contact their local school board members. They should contact their local delegation to the Virginia Senate and the Virginia House of Delegates. They should make noise with the Department of Education. This is something that clearly should interest the Virginia Department of Education, or otherwise what do we pay them for? And we can change things if enough people speak up, point out the problems, and propose solutions.
Right. Once the show is archived tomorrow, make sure you tweet it out. It'll be on Greg Bick at Sports Highlight at GJBTV, HROnlineMall.com. You can see Kevin's interview right now on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends, get it out. We're live on the radio. It is 12:49, 1650 on the radio. TuneIn.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. This is Sports Scene. We'll be back. Mr. Ken Johnson after these messages. Stay tuned, everybody.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made-in-the-USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio.
I knew my rent was gonna be late about a week ago. I worked my ass off, but I still can't pay it though. But I got just enough to get off in this club and have me a good time before my time is up. Hey, let's get it now.
All right, getting close to that movie, 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, my goodness. Talk about drama that's going to be. Every girl in the world is going to be loving that movie. All right, Tuesday, February 10th. Don't forget, Fazoli's has got Kids Night in Newport News from 5 to 9. Valentine's Day party. Party starts at 6 o'clock. Well, speaking of parties, Valentine's is around the corner. It is 10 days away. Let's go to Virginia Beach now to Brenda Tusing, regular from the Royal Chocolate, theroyalchocolate.com. How are you, Brenda?
I'm great today, Greg. How are you?
Very good. It's now we got through the holidays. Okay, we talked to you recently. Now it's all about Valentine's Day now.
It is all about the hearts, the candy, the flowers. Yes.
I really, even past Valentine's Day, I think it's the whole month of February. Something about February.
I think February. I think it is. It's sort of a special month somehow. Not sure why, but Valentine's certainly plays a big part in that.
Absolutely, and of course, it's still winter. It still gets dark early, cold early. I think people like the chocolates, and what better way to surprise somebody, friend, business, girlfriend, wife, sister, whatever, mom, with your stuff at your store. Talk about what's in stock.
Oh, gosh, we are just... Everything's in stock. We, of course, do the fresh dip strawberries. We dip them fresh several times a day during Valentine's weekend, especially because we sell literally, this is not an exaggeration, thousands of chocolate dipped strawberries through that week. We have lines of truffles that'll just wow anybody. Of course, our own line of royal chocolates that we use Belgian chocolate to make right there in the store, our gourmet apples. We have some really special things going on for Valentine's Day. We've done this for the past several years, and we do what we call fondue seatings, where we have certain times set aside for a fondue package. So you can bring in somebody special and sit down and be treated to a delicious fondue, get a little gift box of truffles to take with you. Very nice evening, very sort of romantic, but, you know, it can be just friends or girlfriends or whoever's, you know, moms bring their kids. It's just a nice event. We run those for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we have a chocolate tasting on Sunday. But you can check those out on our website and look under events to see the times for those seatings.
Well, give us the website.
It's theroyalchocolate.com, and you can check out anything from chocolates. You can look at our strawberries. You can see our gift baskets, which are gorgeous. Look under events, see when our seatings are. And don't forget that we do deliver locally. We will be delivering all that weekend of Valentine's Day, and we can ship now that it's, cold enough out. We can certainly ship your gifts for you. We don't ship strawberries. That's the only thing we can't ship. But so many things to offer. And you know what I think the nicest thing is, Greg? We have fabulous chocolates and products, and we do a great job in that area. But what I love the best about holidays is the personal attention that we can give individuals who come in, want something nice, have a price range in mind, not sure what to get. We can really work with somebody so that when they leave, they feel like, wow, I'm going to feel good about giving this gift.
And you're right, because I come from a family of mostly girls. I've never had one of them ever tell me this, Greg, I can't talk right now. There's a sporting event on TV. But they will say, they'll stop and talk about chocolate and flowers as well. Always, 24/7. It's universal, I guess. Girls learn that at a young age.
I think they do. I maybe it's just wired in. I don't know, but I think it's that special feeling. I think that's what everybody is trying to convey at Valentine's Day. When you shop for that special card, even for somebody that you care deeply about, it's just that feeling of doing a little something special for somebody, and that's the thing that I really enjoy the most, especially about Valentine's Day.
And one thing too, you and Terry have a really beautiful store. It's nice, it's clean. You got restrooms in there. It's the atmosphere. It's so much about atmosphere. It's beautiful in there. And one thing, Brenda, you can't eat the candy on the website. You have to go in and get it.
You must go in and get it, or arrange to have it shipped or delivered. There you go.
Very good. Well, have a good one. We'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, sounds great, Greg. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Okay. All right, Brenda Tusing right there from the Royal Chocolate in the Town Center. Some of these city centers and town centers have done so-so. She's done very well. Toby Keese and Newport News could not make it in the town centers. And what are your thoughts about that growing up? You see, the shopping centers were big when we were growing up, the strip malls like on Virginia Beach Boulevard. But these town centers have done just lukewarm, it seems. Like they haven't done great.
Well, first of all, I want to say this about the Royal Chocolate. You mentioned that women and girls learn to like chocolate at an early age. Yeah. Well, I'm not afraid to tell you right here and now, I like chocolate too. So
you like flowers too?
Yeah. Oh, sure. But I'll take chocolate over flowers.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'll take chocolate. And maybe if we would mail a lot of chocolate to the VHSL, we could get them on track. Maybe they would feel better about things.
Yes.
I think that the trend is interesting, and I think overall it's a good thing. We've seen this mixed use, much higher end development going on in places like Town Center, Virginia Beach. You obviously got to plan your infrastructure carefully. You need to have sufficient parking. You need to have roads that actually work and don't result in gridlock. You got to have the right mix of businesses. But the mixture of residential, retail, restaurants, all that sort of thing, I think it's a good thing. And I think that overall, if you compare what, for example, Town Center, Virginia Beach looked like 20 years ago and look at it now, I think most people would agree it's been a massive improvement. Obviously, occasionally you're going to have places that don't make it, whether it's there or whether it's entire development ideas that don't work out. But if you don't try it, you can't succeed.
You're exactly right.
I think it's good.
What's relevant, maybe in Pungo, is not relevant on Baker Road. Exactly.
Right. You got to have enough people, and you got to have enough drive-by business, and you also have to have people who want to turn it into a destination. I think the town centers worked well in Virginia Beach, and I've seen over in Newport News, it seems like they've done pretty well too overall.
Right. I'd give them about a C. Ken, let's get to what teased me off.
What tees you off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
We'll save one for you too, Kevin. This will be quick. Greetings when you walk in somewhere. How about hello, how are you? Preoccupied wait staff at restaurants that have their backs turned to customers.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, well, you say you're here, so what?
How about people who answer and talk on their cell phone in quiet areas where the public is, like libraries? Really? We want to hear your conversation?
And you can hear all the intimate details of all the things. They have no idea what they're saying, and that fact everybody can hear it. You'd think they'd brighten up a little bit.
Red light cameras, Kevin, can't stand them at all in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, or Newport News.
The Big Brother thing's pretty annoying.
I'll
agree with that. But I've got one for you. Can I jump in here now? My wife knows exactly what I'm going to say. I am sick and tired of the expression reaching out. I am so fed up with that. Listen, when I was a lifeguard, if you were reaching out to me, then you are in dire straits and you need my help. Otherwise, don't reach out to me. Make contact, give me a call, let's talk, whatever. But this reaching out sounds so needy and desperate, and I hate it.
Yeah, making left turns anywhere. I can't stand that. Or even right turns for that matter. Objects in the streets. We had that big windy day a couple days ago. I saw right on Military Highway a big light pole just fell down randomly and the police had to stop it up. And Ken, how about holding the door open? It seems like we've all forgotten to hold the door open these days.
Yeah, I haven't. But
Right.
it does seem like you're on your own. And the left turn thing, if you're on George Washington Highway, don't make left turns.
Yeah, but if you're going to make a left turn, how about using that little device on the steering column called a turn signal? You know, it's a matter of courtesy to tell everybody where you're going to put your multi-thousand-pound vehicle.
All right, this show will be archived on YouTube. Go to gjbtv.com. Kevin Martingayle, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely, of course. And for more, log on to HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Browse, shop, and visit. I want to thank our guests as well, Jim Partyka, Brenda Tusing, and, of course, in the studio, Kevin Martingayle. For Ken Johnson, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. We'll talk to you soon.
AM 1650 WHKT Portsmouth, The Answer. It's 3 p.m. 1 p.m. rather. Remnant Radio is next.